I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, staring at a photo on my phone that has upended my entire world. My wife Kim is smiling and she's holding a bowl of strawberries. Strawberries. That little detail shouldn't matter so much, but it does, because Kim is allergic to them. She's been adamant about her allergy since the day we met. I can still hear her voice, laced with annoyance, explaining that she would rather die than touch those red, juicy fruits. So why in this photo is she happily munching on a strawberry slice with some guy I barely recognize? We had been married for 6 years. I thought we had a solid relationship, filled with laughter and love. But recently, things had started to feel off. Kim had become distant. She was always on her phone, texting late into the night, and when I'd ask about it, she would just dismiss me, claiming it was work stuff. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that I was being paranoid. After all, we had just bought a house together, and we were supposed to be building a life. But that photo, it felt like a punch to the gut. My heart raced, and I felt a mix of anger and betrayal bubbling up inside me. I scrolled through the comments below the photo, and they were just as gut-wrenching. "You two look cute together. Cannot believe you're finally letting loose." I wanted to throw my phone against the wall, but instead I took a deep breath and tried to remain calm. I needed answers. The confrontation came a few hours later. Kim came home from work and I was waiting for her, my heart pounding in my chest. I showed her the photo, my hands shaking as I handed her my phone. "Care to explain this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She looked at the screen, her eyes widening with shock. "Where did you get this? That's ridiculous. It's photoshopped." Her voice was defensive, but there was a tremor in her tone that betrayed her. "Photoshopped? Come on, Kim, you look happy in that photo. You're eating strawberries." I couldn't help but raise my voice, anger spilling out of me like a broken dam. "I was just pretending," she shot back, rolling her eyes. "You know how people take silly photos, it was just for fun." For fun? I couldn't believe her audacity. "With some guy I've never met, you've been acting strange for weeks, and now this, you expect me to buy that?" She crossed her arms, a classic defensive stance, and huffed. "You're being dramatic, you're just insecure. I was just having a moment of fun with colleagues." "Colleagues?" I echoed, disbelief clouding my thoughts. "That's your excuse." I could feel the tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, and it infuriated me. How could she do this to us? I had been a good husband, always supportive, always there for her. And here she was, lying right to my face. The emotional impact of that moment hit me like a freight train. I felt like I was being ripped apart inside. Anger and betrayal were swiftly mingling with profound sadness. How did it come to this? How could someone I loved so deeply betray our vows so easily? As the minutes dragged on, I felt my heart harden. I needed to make a decision, but I was too shaken to think clearly. The image of her eating strawberries with another man lingered in my mind, taunting me. The thought of confronting my reality loomed over me. I had to decide how to move forward from this gut-wrenching betrayal. Each avenue I considered felt darker than the last, and I knew there would be no easy resolution. I was on the brink of a life-altering decision, and I was terrified at what it might mean for the future. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my anger in check as I prepared to navigate the storm ahead. After that explosive confrontation, I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Kim had stormed off into the bedroom, leaving me in the living room in a whirlwind of confusion and anguish. My heart raced and my mind was racing even faster. How could she lie to me so easily? I had trusted her, and now that trust lay shattered on the floor like glass from a broken vase. The following days were filled with a heavy silence in our home. I could feel the tension sizzling in the air, so palpable I could almost reach out and grab it. Kim walked around like a ghost, avoiding eye contact and speaking only when necessary. Every time I saw her, it was a reminder of the betrayal. It was suffocating. I had never seen her so evasive, and it was clear that our relationship, once a source of comfort, had become a battlefield. I delved deeper into my suspicions. I was combing through her social media accounts, trying to find any clue that would confirm my fears. I noticed she had been spending time with a group of new friends, people I hadn't even met. Their profiles were filled with pictures of parties, laughter, and of course, food, lots of strawberries. Each photo was like a knife twisting in my gut. It felt like I was being betrayed all over again, every time I scrolled past those pictures. I remember one evening after I had come across yet another photo of her at a picnic, leaning against some guy with a sly smile on her face. I could feel the anger welling up inside me again. How could she? I confronted her yet again, this time demanding to know who this mystery man was. Kim, who is he? You've been hanging out with him, lot, haven't you? I shouted, my throat tight with emotion. She rolled her eyes again, a gesture that had become all too familiar. It's just a friend, Mark, you're overreacting. Just a friend. How many friends do you have that you didn't tell me about? I pressed, trying to keep my voice steady despite the frustration bubbling to the surface. You're being ridiculous. I can have friends without you policing my life. She retorted, her voice sharp and defensive. We spiraled into another heated argument, each accusation and denial only deepening the chasm between us. It was becoming a toxic cycle, and I was starting to realize that this was not just about the strawberries or the photo. It was about the extent of her deceit, the lies she spun, and the realization that the woman I had married had become someone I barely recognized. In the depths of my despair, I sought solace in friends. I had a close buddy, Jake, who had always been my sounding board. I finally reached out to him, spilling the sordid details of what was happening. I don't know what to do, man. I feel like I'm losing my mind over this, I confessed over drinks at our favorite bar. Dude, you need to confront her with everything. Don't let her keep lying to you. You deserve to know the truth, he said, his voice steady. It felt good to vent, to share my pain with someone who could understand. That night I made up my mind. I could not live in this uncertainty any longer. I needed closure, even if it was painful. I would confront Kim once and for all. I would lay everything out on the table, her lies, the photos, the red flags. I had to know if the love we built meant anything to her anymore. As the sun set that evening, I steeled myself for what lay ahead. I knew I had to be calm, collected, and unyielding. This time, I wouldn't let her deflect or manipulate the situation. I would demand the truth, and I would refuse to accept anything less. The shadows in our living room seemed darker as I prepared for the confrontation. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on me as I braced myself for the emotional roller coaster that awaited. This was it. I was ready to unearth the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I would confront my wife, and we would see where the chips would fall. The moment of confrontation loomed like a storm cloud, heavy and dark. I paced around our living room, rehearsing my words in my mind. I wanted to approach this with a level head, but with every passing second, the anger and betrayal surged anew. I could still picture the image of Kim laughing, carefree with that stranger, a stark contrast to the silent tension that had enveloped our home. Finally, I caught her as she stepped out of the shower, her hair wrapped in a towel. She looked surprised to see me standing there, but I didn't give her a chance to brush me off. Kim, we need to talk, now. She paused, the towel slipping slightly as her expression shifted to one of cautious curiosity. What's going on, Mark? You're scaring me. Scaring you. You think you're the one who's scared? I shot back, my voice rising in pitch. I saw the photos, Kim, the ones with you and him. I want to know who he is. I want to know why you've been lying to me. Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought I saw panic flicker across her face. Mark, you're not serious. I told you it's just a silly photo. You're being paranoid. She attempted to deflect, but I wasn't going to let her slip away again. No more lies, no more excuses. Who is this guy? I pressed, my heart racing as I waited for her answer. His name is Eric. We met through work, and it was just a one-time thing. It didn't mean anything. She paused, almost as if she was gauging my reaction. I swear it was just a mistake. A mistake, I echoed incredulously, my heart dropping into my stomach. You call it a mistake when you're eating strawberries with him. You know how allergic you are. It's not just a mistake, Kim, it's infidelity. Her face twisted in anger, and for a moment it felt like she wanted to lash out. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. You're overreacting. I told you we were just having fun. There's nothing serious between us. Her voice escalated, and I could see the tension building as she crossed her arms defiantly. Fun, with a guy you didn't even tell me about, and I'm supposed to just accept that. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting deeper. You've been lying to me, hiding things from me, and you think I should just shrug it off. You think I'm that naive. The anger rolled off me like waves crashing against a shore, relentless and unforgiving. I could feel the hurt turning into something darker, something that felt like a chasm in my chest where love had once thrived. I don't want to fight, she said, her voice softening but laced with irritation. What do you want me to say? I messed up, okay, but it was just a stupid fling. It didn't mean anything. I shook my head, the gravity of her words hitting me like a freight train. If it didn't mean anything, then why did you keep it from me? Why hide it? You don't just have fun with someone while you're married. This isn't some game. Kim's face fell, and for the first time I saw a glimmer of vulnerability. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought it would blow over and you wouldn't find out, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Find out? Kim, you made the choice to betray me. How could you think I wouldn't notice? My voice dropped an octave, the hurt turning into a somber realization. You've been lying to me for who knows how long. This isn't just a surface issue. It's a betrayal of everything we built together. Her eyes glistened with tears, but I couldn't muster any sympathy. I was too deep in my own anguish to feel for her at that moment. I loved you, Kim, and I thought you loved me too, but how can I trust you after this? She took a step closer, her voice cracking as she spoke. Please, Mark, I'll do anything to fix this. I love you. I don't want to lose you. Let's work on it together. Work on it, I echoed, incredulity washing over me. How do I know you'll ever be honest with me again? How do I know this won't happen again? I felt like I was being pulled in two directions. My heart wanted to cling to the love we had, but my mind screamed that I couldn't allow myself to be a fool again. The emotional turmoil inside me was overwhelming, and I realized that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty. Maybe we need some time apart, Kim, I said, my voice heavier than lead. I need to think about what this means for us. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. Her face crumpled and the tears began to fall freely now. Mark, please don't do this. I can change. We can change. As I watched her break down, I felt a flicker of disbelief. How could someone who professed love so easily betray it? I turned away, needing to escape the weight of her sorrow and my own heartbreak. I had decisions to make, and I knew they wouldn't be easy, but I had to protect myself first. The days following that confrontation felt like walking through thick fog. I barely spoke to Kim, and the silence in our home was suffocating. I spent my evenings on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to process everything that had happened. The betrayal was a constant weight on my chest, and I was tangled in a web of confusion and hurt. It felt like my life had been turned upside down, and every time I closed my eyes, the image of Kim with that stranger crept back into my mind, taunting me. I tried to focus on work, but my concentration was shot. I'd catch myself staring off into space during meetings, my mind racing with thoughts of what I should do next. Should I confront her again? Should I demand more answers? Or should I just walk away and leave her behind like a bad chapter in my life? I couldn't shake the feeling that I was teetering on the edge of a precipice, and one wrong move could send me tumbling into darkness. One afternoon, I decided to meet Jake again. I needed to talk to someone who could help me sort through all the chaos in my head. As we sat in a small diner, I could feel the weight of my emotions spilling out of me. I just don't know if I can trust her anymore, man. I loved her, but now it's like I don't even know who she is. Jake nodded, listening intently as I poured out my heart. It sounds like you've made your decision. You need to think about what you want, not what she wants. You deserve someone who isn't going to lie to you. Yeah, but I don't want to throw away everything we built, you know? We have a house, a life together. It feels impossible to just walk away, I replied, feeling the tension knotting in my stomach. What if this is just a phase for her? What if she really does want to change? Mark, if she was really committed to changing, she would be doing everything in her power to make amends. But it sounds like she's still trying to deflect blame onto you. That's not a great sign, Jake pointed out, his voice steady but firm. As I pondered his words, I felt a flicker of clarity. Maybe I was holding on to the idea of our life together more than the reality of it. I couldn't keep justifying her betrayal with what-ifs. I had to prioritize my own well-being, no matter how painful that decision might be. That night, I returned home and sat on the edge of our bed while Kim was in the bathroom brushing her teeth. I glanced around the room, taking in the small touches that felt so familiar, the framed photos of our wedding day, the little trinkets she had collected from our travels. They felt like remnants of a different life, one that was slipping away from my grasp. When she emerged, her hair still damp, I knew I had to speak up. "Kim, can we talk?" Her eyes widened slightly, and I could see the tension cross her face. "Is this about the other night?" "I told you I'm sorry, I'll do better." I shook my head. "It's not just about that. I've been thinking a lot about us, about what happened. I don't think I can keep pretending everything is okay." Her expression shifted, and I could sense the anxiety rising in her. "What do you mean?" "I mean I can't trust you anymore. I don't know if I even want to try to work this out," I said, my heart pounding as the words left my mouth. "The betrayal cuts too deep. I need to prioritize my own mental health." She took a step closer, desperation evident in her eyes. "Mark, please, I love you. I made a mistake. We can fix this together." But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was saying what she thought I wanted to hear rather than what she truly felt. "I don't know if I believe you anymore," I admitted, my voice trembling. "I don't know where we go from here." The silence that followed felt heavy, like the world had paused, forcing us to confront the reality of our situation. "You're really considering leaving me, aren't you?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. "I need time, Kim. Time to figure out if we can salvage this or if it's better to go our separate ways," I replied, the weight of my decision palpable. "I think we both need space to think." Her face fell, and I could see the tears pooling in her eyes. "Mark, please don't do this. I'll do anything to make it right. Just give me a chance." I wanted to believe her, but the sting of her betrayal lingered like an open wound. "I can't promise you anything right now. I need to take care of myself first," I said, my heart breaking as I realized the implications of what I was saying. As I walked out into the living room, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I had finally voiced my feelings, and while it felt like a step into the unknown, it was also a step toward reclaiming my own life. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew I couldn't continue living in a state of betrayal and anger. I needed to give myself the space to heal and figure out what the next chapter of my life would look like. As I sat on the couch, staring out at the night sky, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could find the strength to move forward, even if it meant leaving Kim behind. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. After I told Kim that I needed space, our house felt more like a stranger than a home. I had moved into the spare room. The walls, painted in a color I once found calming, now felt suffocating and cold. The distance was palpable, each passing day adding another layer to the chasm that had formed between us. I felt like I was living in limbo, caught between the love I once had and the betrayal that had shattered it. I busied myself with work and tried to keep my mind occupied. Jake was a constant source of support, always ready to listen whenever I needed to vent. I would take long walks during my lunch breaks, trying to clear my head and gain some perspective. I even started journaling, pouring my thoughts onto paper, hoping that it might help me untangle the mess in my heart. But every night, when the world grew quiet and I was left alone with my thoughts, that photo resurfaced. I would replay the moment of confrontation in my mind, the look on Kim's face as she tried to defend her actions, the way her words felt like daggers. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that nested deep within me. The love we had shared felt tainted, and it was hard to separate the memories from the hurt. It was during one of those quiet nights that I made the decision to reach out to a therapist. I needed someone to help me navigate through all the emotional turmoil, someone who could guide me in understanding what I was feeling. I scheduled an appointment for the following week, hoping it would provide clarity. Meanwhile, Kim continued to reach out, trying to bridge the gap. She would leave notes on the kitchen counter or send texts that felt filled with desperation. "I miss you," one read. "I'm sorry, please talk to me." Each message was a reminder of the love that had been, but it also reminded me of the hurt that lingered. I felt a sense of guilt for not responding, but I knew that any interaction would only complicate things further. The turning point came one evening as I returned home from work. I opened the door to find Kim sitting on the couch, her eyes red and puffy from crying. My heart sank as I realized just how raw the situation was for both of us. Can we talk? She asked, her voice trembling as she wiped away a tear. I hesitated. I thought we agreed to give each other space. I know, but I can't just sit here and pretend that everything is fine. I've been feeling lost without you, she said, her voice cracking. I've been seeing a therapist too. I want to understand why I made those choices and fix things between us. I felt a surge of conflicting emotions. On one hand, I wanted to believe that she was sincere, that she truly wanted to change. On the other hand, the fear of being hurt again loomed large. I'm not sure that's enough, Kim. Trust is not something that can be easily rebuilt. It takes time. I know, she pleaded, leaning forward as if to draw me in. But I'm willing to fight for us, to do whatever it takes to make it right. Just please don't shut me out completely. Looking into her eyes, I could see the pain mirrored in my own. Part of me wanted to reach out, to comfort her, to believe that we could mend what had been broken. But another part of me remained guarded, afraid to fall back into old patterns. Can we take it one step at a time? I suggested cautiously. I want to see that you're serious about this, but I also need to protect myself. She nodded, relief flooding her features. I'm willing to do that. I'll be patient. I just want a chance. Over the next few weeks, we began to navigate this new territory together. It wasn't easy. Each conversation was tinged with the ghosts of our past, but they were also filled with moments of vulnerability and honesty that had been missing. I began to see glimpses of the woman I had fallen in love with, her laughter, her warmth, the little quirks that used to make me smile. I started to attend couples therapy sessions with her, and it was a difficult journey. We had to peel back the layers of hurt, confront the issues that had plagued our relationship long before the affair. It was painful, but also strangely liberating. We were learning to communicate again, sharing our fears and aspirations in a way that felt raw and real. As we worked through our issues, I began to see changes in Kim. She was more open and aware of her actions, and I could tell she was genuinely trying to make amends. It didn't erase the past, but each small step forward felt like a victory. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild. However, I also knew that the road ahead was still uncertain. Trust would take time, and while I was willing to work towards healing, I needed to listen to my own instincts. I had to remain vigilant, ensuring that I didn't ignore my own feelings in the process. As I lay awake one night, the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future swirling in my mind, I realized that I was beginning to see a path forward. It would be long and challenging, but I was committed to navigating it with open eyes and an open heart. Whatever the outcome, I knew I had learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of self-worth. No matter how this turned out, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. As the weeks turned into months, the journey of healing from Kim's betrayal became a fragile dance between hope and fear. We continued attending therapy together, and while the sessions were often challenging, they were also enlightening. We dug deep into our relationship, exploring not just the fallout from her affair, but also the underlying issues that had contributed to our disconnect. One evening, during a particularly intense session, we were discussing trust. It's not just about what happened, it's about how we communicate, the therapist said, guiding us. You both need to be honest about your feelings, both the good and the bad. I felt a swell of emotions as I glanced at Kim. She looked vulnerable, her eyes shimmering with tears. I know I messed up, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. But I want to be better. I want to earn your trust back, Mark. I took a deep breath, wrestling with my own emotions. I want to believe you, Kim, but trust doesn't just come back overnight. I need to see that you're committed to this, to us. Every day is a chance for me to prove that, she said, her determination shining through the pain. I'll do the work. I want to be the partner you deserve. That commitment was the first real light I had seen since the betrayal. We began to rebuild our lives with small gestures, date nights, spontaneous adventures, and genuine conversations. Her efforts to connect with me felt authentic, and for the first time in a long while, I started to feel a flicker of warmth in my heart. But even in those moments of joy, there were times when the shadows from our past crept back in. I'd catch myself overthinking every interaction, every late-night text, and every social media post. The fear of being blindsided again lingered like a ghost, and I knew that the healing process would take time. One night as we sat together on the couch watching a movie, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. "You know," I said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I didn't think we'd get here. I honestly thought I would have walked away for good." Kim turned to me, her expression thoughtful. "I understand why you felt that way. I hurt you deeply, and I don't take that lightly. But I've learned so much about myself through all of this. I'm not the same person I was before." "I can see that," I replied, feeling a sense of hope blossoming in my chest. "But I need you to understand that I will always carry the scars from this. We both will." "Scars can be reminders of growth," she said softly, reaching out to hold my hand. "I want to grow with you, Mark. I want to build something stronger than what we had before." We spent hours discussing our visions for the future, laying the groundwork for what we wanted our relationship to become. It was in sharing our dreams and fears that I felt the bond between us begin to strengthen once again. It was no longer just about navigating the pain of betrayal. It was about forging a new path filled with trust, love, and understanding. As the months passed, I realized that the journey we were on was not just about Kim's infidelity, but about our commitment to each other. I began to find joy in the little moments again. The way she laughed, the way her eyes lit up when she was excited. I learned to appreciate the person she was becoming, just as I was becoming someone new as well. It was a long road, and there were still moments of doubt, but we were learning to communicate openly about those fears. I realized that we would never fully erase the past, but we could create a new story together, one that was rooted in honesty and vulnerability. By the time we celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary, I felt a sense of hope that I hadn't thought possible. We had come so far, and while the journey was ongoing, it was also filled with promise. We had each put in the work, and in doing so, we had rediscovered the love that had brought us together in the first place. In those quiet moments of reflection, I learned that love is not always about perfection. It's about navigating the imperfections together, holding each other accountable and growing through adversity. The scars would always be there, a reminder of where we had been, but they would not define us. As I sat there with Kim, watching the sunset from our porch, I felt grateful. Grateful for the lessons, for the growth, and for the chance to rebuild. I had learned to prioritize my well-being, to communicate my needs, and to fight for the love I believed was worth saving. In the end, I realized that sometimes the most profound connections are forged in the fires of adversity. With each passing day, I found strength in our journey. Together, knowing that we were not just surviving, we were thriving in the love we were rebuilding.